Welcome to the SwimSwam podcast. I'm your host, Coleman Hodges. Joining me today, I've got a very special guest. You know him as the head coach of the Energy Standard team on ISL, as well as the Energy Standard Club based in Turkey, James Gibson. James, how's it going?
All good. Coming to you from Budapest on an island. We're doing all right.
Let's get started there. You know, the here and now. You're in Budapest. You've already had match one for your Energy Standard team of the ISL. First of all, break down that match for me. How did it go for you guys? What were you seeing that went well? What areas do you think you guys can improve in moving forward?
Well, it was an interesting first match. Everyone's had a strange year. However way you look at it, everyone in the world has had a strange year, and some people have had good training all the way through. Some have been less fortunate. But there was, going into that first match, there was quite a lot of apprehension going around the group. There's a bit of nervousness because people hadn't raced. It's been 8 months since, we last raced in January. So 9 months since any of our guys have actually been on the block. Chandler Clough, for example, his last race was Las Vegas. So
wow, yeah.
So in all of that, it was more like everyone was diving into the unknown. So we couldn't really have a good feel on sort of conditions of the athletes, and we didn't put any pressure on them. We just asked them to go out and just see where we're at this point in time. Obviously, they're all competitors, so a lot of them were frustrated that they weren't close to their best times. But when you break it down and you look at some of the reasons behind them, their years, a lot of them did fantastically well. But it's sport, and when the buzzer goes, or when the gun goes off, it doesn't matter if you finish fourth. If you have to try and get the wins, get the points for the team, regardless of your situation before. So we've got some things going on now. We've got some guys that need a little bit of work. We're very lucky. We've got a 10-day gap in before our next match. So we've got people in work. We've had to put people into work just to try and build up their capacities. And we're grateful for this period. And, we've got to get to grips with the new rules as well. So what do you think of the rules?
I was about to ask you that. It's as a spectator, it's really interesting. It puts it in a whole nother perspective. And as a swim fan, you always like to see those swimmers who win way out in front. It makes it exciting. And now obviously there's more incentive with those jackpot rules. The Cali Condors got the win in the first match, and they had commented that they thought the jackpot rule really benefited them. What did you think of the new rules?
Well, it's totally different. So we kind of came in, caught a little bit off guard, really, with the impact of the jackpot. And the Cali guys swam the house down. They really came in and, credit where credit's due. I know they're our opposition, but you see Olivia Smoliga is 50 back. You watch Lily King and the Skins. These guys, you can't help but just chapeau, take the hat off to how they performed. And we do have to up our game. And the impact of the jackpot, we took a little bit for granted on our side, but it's definitely a good tactical thing now with the sport. We have to really think about our team selections, how we can maximize our jackpot races, and we have to really study our opposition. I know myself and Tom Rushton and our team here, we did a lot of that last year, which some of the other teams may have not done to such in depth, but we got a lot of work to do. There's a lot of stats going on now behind the scenes and figuring out it's not just really your race. You need to know what your competitors are going to do. So we go to the pool now. It's awesome to have all the matches here because we go and watch and you make notes, and it almost feels like NBA or NFL. It's very different, and we're jotting down notes. We're seeing how other teams are doing their formations, because you almost need to predict what some of the others will do. But the guys like Lily would always swim the main events, and so you can sort of match up who you think would be best to take on her. And we were very, having Benedetta Pilato, big breakout meet was a good one for us there as well. So the next match will make some changes. But like I said, the Cali are looking exceptionally strong, but we're going to give them a nice run for their money as we go through.
So you mentioned you have 10 days off, and it's interesting, it's a 6 weeks regular season. There's 10 teams, 8 teams competing each week. And so 2 teams have off each week, and you guys had 1 match, and then you get that week off, that 10-day reprieve. How do you think that, that the timing of that break, you had 1 match and then you'll get the break and then you'll be competing every other weekend. Have you thought of, how do you think that will benefit your team moving forward?
Well, the first match is a lot of nervous energy. So there was a bit of payout, and I speak to all the coaches here and managers. There was a bit of payout after everyone's first match because it was a long time, lots of emotion built up. And there's a lot of emotional fatigue from all the athletes after the first match. So I'm quite happy to have that little break. But then also on the flip side, there's going to be other teams having a bit more of a break. Like I know that Cali's schedule is a little bit more spaced out with like 4 or 5 days in between the matches. But when I get going next week, it's a match, 3 days, match, 2 days off, match, 3 days off. So it's going to be we got another 5 matches to go. It'll be about five matches, including the final, in about 4 weeks. So it's going to be a heavy schedule for my guys. And that comes in the new team aspect. Do we rest people? Do we not? Do we save some people from a lot of individual races and use them on relays? But we've got to monitor the athletes as they go through. Like, is anyone sick? Is anyone injured? And you're really going to need the whole squad. You need the whole squad on form because it's unrealistic to expect some people to handle. Like Sarah did 5 events. 5 events, and she killed it. She did incredibly well, but to do 5 events in one day over a 6 match or 4 in that period, it would be a little bit too much for anyone. So we got to be smart. We have to be smart.
It's interesting. You bring up Sarah, you bring up a swimmer like Sarah or Chad who can swim lots of events in this format. And I think, especially spectators and viewers kind of just assume, well, anytime they jump in the pool, they're going to be fast. They could break a world record or something, which sure, it might be true. But, as someone who sees them every day, you got to remember they are humans. And like each time they swim in the pool, they're giving their effort. They're making those swims happen. When you are putting athletes in so many events, what are you making sure of that or what are you doing as a coach to try to set them up for success as much as possible?
So with Sarah, for example, we had a big strategy around her and how she was going to do the 5 events, and she was really excited to do it. She was like, "This is the challenge." You sit down and you always involve the athlete in the process, and we always talk and like how we're going to attack this. And she was really excited for the challenge. But we've had a nice support network around her. We made sure that someone was going to get the clothes and the drinks because some 5 minutes in between some races. But generally on a day-to-day basis and training and everything, it's just really I've found with a lot of the great athletes I work with, it's about fit and the program. Like I don't believe I know everything about coaching sprinters, or I don't believe that. I believe that I've got a good fit with the athletes I work with. Like I've coached many different people, and some have had great success and some haven't. And it doesn't mean that the athletes I haven't had success with, it just means the fit wasn't great. So I think in coaching these guys every day, I do believe that you have to put the athlete at the center, and you have to involve them very much in the process because it's their process, it's their career at the end of the day. And I did get a little bit of that from being an ex-athlete. I know that, and this is just what I do. I do with all my guys, really. Florent, Chad, Sarah, Pernille, Ben Proud, the guys that are with me all the time. It's their journey and it's their process, and I'm very lucky I individualize quite a lot of the programs. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of riding, but in Europe Europe, we don't have the big numbers of a US college system. Like I love the NCAAs. I love the whole college thing. I love the whole big team thing. But we don't have those numbers that you guys have. So we have to be we have to handle with care, precious cargo, I call them. And we individualize the weights, we individualize, definitely the dry land is individualized, and we try and give them their program.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that seems like a very cool system to me, hearing that perspective. Making it about the athletes. I feel like there's a lot of coaches who don't really get that and kind of let their ego get involved. But but speaking of the NCAA system, you just had one of our best come out and start training with Energy Standard, Ian Finnerty, which was super cool to see. What was that transition like of did Ian approach you? Did you approach Ian? And so how did Ian end up there, and what has he added to that team environment in Turkey so far?
So Ian was in a bit of career transition, and he actually came via Caitlin Sandiner. Like I know Caitlin is a GM of one of our competitors, but we're all one big family ISL as well. We all understand that we have to work together to make this a success. As much as we all want to win the ISL, we have to help each other along the way. So Caitlin contacted me, said Ian's looking for sort of the next step in his career. Would you mind having a look? So we got him out for a trial, and he's a nice fit. Obviously, he missed a lot of training. His performances at the first meet were a little off as well, but he'd missed a lot. But it's going to take a bit of time just to figure him out. He's got to figure out what we are, because it's a different way of working. We do work differently. So we're in the process. We started the process, and we're going to take our time. One thing I do with new athletes, I tend not to touch their technique at all for the first part, because their bodies are going to change and adapt from a new system, maybe more dry land than what they're used to. So we don't rush anything with technique. I know I used to work with, I'd come straight and I change this, do this, change that hand, do that. And all I ended up doing was the bodies felt completely alien because it's a new program and they lost their technique. So I've put a pause on any new athletes that come in, just calm for a 6-month process of just calm, figuring it all out. And then we build through, make the real fundamental changes.
Yeah. I mean, I think that hearing you say it like that makes a lot of sense. Kind of adapt to the system, and then we can, like you said, make fundamental changes. So I mean, from an outsider's perspective looking in, Energy Standard is such a unique situation, and it's such a cool thing of just, you have a real pro. I mean, obviously the ISL, you have pro teams, but then outside of that, you have the club of Energy Standard, which is a pro club. And it's like, we kind of have something like that in the US. David Marsh has his Team Elite. And then there's training groups that are based at universities. But you have Energy Standard who people are coming from all over and training as a collective, and it's a really cool thing, and something I as a fan would love to see happen more and more in the swimming community. How did you come by Energy Standard, and what prospect drew you to say, okay, this is where I want to coach, this is going to be my next step?
I think it was what drew me was the task and the challenge. Like I coached in Marseille in the south of France for 3 years. I worked at the National High Performance Centre in Great Britain for 4 years. And when I was approached about this project, because the ISL was mentioned, like this global professional league for swimming, and we need a club to kind of be the model to start, and you've got a few years to make it the best in the world. Off you go, and it was scary. It was a scary kind of challenge, but I've always taken risky leaps in my life. Like we went to live in Turkey. It was just after the military coup there as well, so it wasn't a great. Political stability wasn't great at that point. I know Turkey is a fabulous country, and now it's very calm now. But at the point in time when we started, there was lots of challenges, and it was this whole being at the center of trying to build the best swimming club in the world, being part of a process to build a global swimming league. And when Constantine spoke to me about it, I was a little bit like, wow, he's crazy. Is this is just out of this world. And he was just like, come on the journey. And I was like, right, let's do it. So packed up and left. And then each year just keeps getting better and better. We had a fabulous first year. We never actually actively recruited any swimmers for the club. The goal was always ISL, and what better way we didn't want to annoy the swimming community by just poaching swimmers as per se and coaching. Sure. So many athletes that have been in the program, they all approached us, and we built it slowly and steadily. And the club has now obviously got a great reputation. And we won the first ISL last year, but we still need to get bigger. We want to make the club more athletes. This is the model for the New York Breakers, the LA Current, Cali Condors. If we can get these clubs, the ones in ISL, functioning as real, full-time training bases, like an NBA team, like a Major League Soccer, NFL, why not? But that's the vision, and this is the ISL now is the stepping stone.
Yeah, I mean, and what a vision we've seen. We've seen the first season of ISL. Now we're seeing the second season of ISL, which is such an accomplishment to have a second season of ISL in this current, global pandemic. So last question about the club side of Energy Standard. Mm-hmm. When you have athletes coming in and out like that, like I know Sarah Sjostrom, spends time in Turkey, but then also goes home sometimes to Sweden. You have all these international athletes who are going back and forth, like you said, very individualized. How have you learned to manage that over these last few years, just working with kind of, like you said before, giving them the reins and saying it's your career. If you need to leave, do it. If you want to come, do it. I feel like a lot of coaches would have a lot of trouble with that. But how have you learned to navigate that through these last few years?
It's okay. I think it's almost like a choice, the athletes have to make. Like we have, so Chad spends pretty much, apart from this year, 100% of his time there. Ben Proud, someone like Florent Manadou. I'll give you Flo, for example. He's a guy that he needs, him personally, he needs his home time. He needs to spend a period of time at home. He can go home. He can really manage himself. Like he's got a fabulous setup in Marseille, and he's got a team that support him there. So he comes in, he does a lot of his quality work with us, 2-3 weeks with us, and he can easily go home for a week because he can't. It would be wrong for him to stay all the time because it wouldn't work for him. And that's the fit and the feel I was talking about. Like for a lot of athletes, and a lot of the say the Olympic champions, they've got PR and media work to do, and they're popular in their countries, and that's just the reality of it. They're not. That happens. That's part of the program. You have to fit that all in to the mold. So when they go home, it's normally a quieter period or a quieter week. But when they come into Turkey, it's just business. They've got the hotel, the accommodation, the food. They've got everything they need to be successful. And I always say to Flo and even Sarah to start, I was like, this is like I think Sarah said to me, like, it's like a holiday from my life when I come here. Like when she's at home, she's busy things to do. And when she's in Turkey, she can just switch on to training. Same with Flo. Just that's the only thing they have to think about. Turn up to pool, present yourself, be as fast as you can, then go back to bed.
That seems like a really cool way of looking at it. And I know. I feel like in the US, it's just a different thing, and it's really cool to hear about that perspective. Especially certainly from an international view. But so back to ISL, back to where you're at right now. Obviously you're on the island. From what I've heard, you can go outside 90 minutes a day. You can't go into shops. I mean, it's, you guys are locked down. It's strict. How is that, mentally, how have you been able to handle that? And how have you kind of seen the athletes work with those restrictions?
Well, as of now, it's all very, very good. Like, and we bear in mind, we're only still into week 2. We haven't we haven't been here too long. So there was a few internet issues the first day, but that's all been fixed. I didn't realize the world now, we have to have Wi-Fi immediately. But yeah, now it's okay. Now it's fine. The training regimes are done. So they've got their time outside. And Margaret Island is, if there's going to be a place to get locked down on, it's not a bad island. For staff, it's got running tracks around. The athletes can go to walk. There's fountains. You've got the river, so you can actually just sit and watch the river. It's quite relaxing. But it's just, I think, there will be some more challenges. As it gets colder, as the fatigue rises within the groups, we'll have to monitor that closely. But now there's no issues, and the sort of the quarantine restrictions. It took a bit of while, like sitting on a table, one to a table at meal times, and sat on your own every meal. It's different, but it's just part of the process, and I think everyone appreciates that. We're so privileged to even be here, and the team at ISL for actually getting this over the line. It's fabulous, and we're all in a very privileged place, and I keep reminding my athletes of that, because you can get complacent. You can go, the food wasn't great today, and that, well, guys, we're lucky to even be here. So let's embrace it. Let's embrace what we got.
One final question, like you said, it's just a privilege to be there, and it is such a cool thing that the ISL has made this happen. What is, being with your team, with your ISL team of Energy Standard, being in this environment, what's your favorite part about all this?
To be honest, it's meeting new people, meeting new people, seeing how they work, see how they train, and because everyone does it differently, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone does it differently, and he's 1,000 different ways to always get the same result. So looking at the connections between the athletes and their coaches, and just looking at how what their programs are, and I like to learn. Like at the minute, I've got a huge sprint group. Like Matt Grievers has come in. He's following the plan, and what a great guy to have in. Awesome. So the other day we had a good speed session going on. 15 guys all together, all following a similar, well, obviously not in the same lane, but 15 guys all together doing the speed work, and I think there was some great photos on social media yesterday, and there's a nice ambiance, and I like meeting new people. We've got 20 different nationalities on our team, and there's communication issues we have to get over the line sometimes, but everyone comes from a different background, so they all look at their lives very differently. I grew up in East London. I see the world very, very differently to someone that grew up in Zaporozhye in Eastern Ukraine. So everyone has different philosophies on training, different philosophies on themselves, and I just like to see it all play out and how they become great. Because, like I said, it's different for everyone, and we're in a dream world if we think we know best than someone else. It's just like it's nice to watch how different coaches and different swimmers interact, and how they achieve greatness, really.
That warmed my heart. That was a really very, very cool answer. And James, thanks so much for taking the time to sit down and talk with me. It's very refreshing to hear your perspective, and good to hear that you guys are moving through well so far in the bubble. No,
thank you. It's been we're at the minute we're all good, but there could be challenges. So everyone has a responsibility. Everyone has a responsibility to play their role. There is no going off the island. No one goes to shops. It's no one goes into town. If it's a very simple system. If you go off and you're caught, you're out. And I think it's there's so much at stake, and there's such a big investment of time, finance, money for everyone that the rules just have to be respected.
You've been listening to the SwimSwam podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. You can take SwimSwam podcast on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Look for links in the description below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos as well.